All right, friends, Peggy Hall back with you. I'm streaming live. Today is it's actually Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. And unfortunately, we are seeing this devastation now perpetrated and inflicted upon the beautiful country of Jamaica. Let me know if you've ever been to Jamaica, if you are from Jamaica. I had the fortune to travel there many years ago. And this is just so utterly devastating. In this video, we're going to be looking at a short broadcast showing the devastation. I'm not going to be showing too many pictures, actually. You can find those on your own. I don't like to traumatize my audience by unnecessarily showing images of the destruction. I'm sure you can find that on your own. What I'm going to be talking about are two main things. We're going to be looking at the vision. Let's take a look here, shall we? Vision 2030. Yes, wouldn't you know it? Jamaica is on the list for the UN to create Vision 2030, a fully digital smart city, smart island, I guess. And instead of burn back better, I guess it's blow back better with all of these historic winds that are going to be clearing the land, so to speak, so that AI can take over in Jamaica in terms of infrastructure, biometric IDs, centralized grids, everything that we've been seeing in places like, oh, I don't know, Lahaina, for example, where they just happen to have in the city of Lahaina an entire new infrastructure on the books right before the burn back better. So eliminating old Jamaica and bringing in the new Jamaica. We're going to be looking at that. And we're going to be looking at the Jamaican Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, and how he is a part of the World Economic Forum. Oh, and by the way, exactly a month ago, give or take a few days, he addressed the United Nations all about, any guesses, anyone? Yes, you're absolutely right. Climate change and how the hurricanes were getting worse and worse because worst is worse than worse, and how he wanted more money out of your pocket. Yes, American tax dollars should go to help Jamaica become, how do they put it now, more resilient? Yes, that's one of their buzzwords. That's what we're going to be taking a look at in this video. Now, it's very ironic that just a few days ago, I did a video called Where Are All the Hurricanes? And I showed how unusually quiet it was in the Atlantic Ocean, which, of course, is where Jamaica is. So that is what we're seeing in the headlines today. Hurricane Melissa, extremely dangerous, conditions rapidly worsening. Hurricane Melissa makes landfall in Jamaica with violent winds. It plows across Jamaica. It's eye now moving toward Cuba. And again, my apologies to anyone named Melissa. I do not care for hurricanes being named after people. I think that's absolutely horrendous. So we're going to be taking a look at a couple of short videos. First, let's take a look at the news coverage here. This is the most recent that I could find. This is a breaking story, friends. I am filming live. I'm broadcasting live. So by the time this video finishes, there may be different information. And if you're watching this not live, but later, please keep in mind that there are going to be updates after this video airs. So what I mean is there will be additional information that I may not have brought to you in this video. So let's go ahead now and we will listen. I believe I've got, let me put the subtitles on so that if you can't hear, you can at least read what's going on. Hurricane Melissa hit Jamaica. Oh, of course I have it on double speed. Does anyone listen? I had it on 2.5. Does anyone listen to the playback quickly? That's how I get through a lot of my research. Here we go.
As we've reported, Hurricane Melissa hit Jamaica this afternoon as a Category 5 storm. It is one of the strongest hurricanes on record in the Atlantic. New at 5, meteorologist Christy Stewart looks at some of the others in Melissa's company.
Hurricane Melissa is now in the record books as one of the strongest hurricanes making its way through the Atlantic basin. It did make landfall as a very strong Category 5 hurricane earlier this afternoon around 1 p.m. Now, landfall is considered when the center of the eye makes its way onto land. So that happened around New Hope in Jamaica around 1 p.m. today. As it made landfall, it had sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, and it did have a central pressure of 892 millibars. Now, that very low pressure that puts Melissa tied for third place for the most intense hurricanes on record in the Atlantic basin with that 892 millibar pressure. Now, when we have storms that have that very low pressure, that means that there's a very tight pressure gradient, and that allows the winds within those storms to get very strong. So as far as the wind speeds, with Melissa having those peak wind speeds of 185 mile per hour sustained winds, that ties Melissa with second place in the top 5 of strongest hurricanes in the Atlantic basin. So this is definitely one that is going to be making it in the record books, unfortunately unfolding a lot of devastation across Jamaica.
Yeah, and we still don't even know what the extent of all that devastation is in that part of Jamaica. We've seen reports coming in out of Kingston. That's where this Jamaica symbol is right here over the island, because there still is some communication coming out of there. But the western side of the island, haven't seen a lot of information yet. When you have winds of a storm that are coming on land at around 185 miles an hour near the center of the storm, you're not going to get information. Montego Bay getting hit really hard right now as winds are screaming in out of the north as the storm is starting to go back over the water. It'll maintain its strength likely as a Category 4 storm heading towards Cuba. Here's a 5 o'clock advisory. It has winds at 145 miles an hour right now. It'll keep winds at 140 miles an hour as it moves into eastern Cuba. The storm will weaken and quickly race to the north, heading out to sea. Bermuda will get grazed by some of the wind, but they should be okay as the storm will be fast moving. They won't get a lot of rain out of it, but they will get some stronger winds. Likely Thursday night, and then by Friday afternoon, the storm is long gone. No threat for us here across our area. So here's a look at the storm once again. Making landfall as a Category 5 storm. Now the storm is over the northern parts of Jamaica, past Montego Bay, but look at how the wind is swirling around that area. So you get those strong onshore winds as the storm is fleeting or leaving northern parts of Jamaica and heading back into the open water. And then for spots where it may close to landfall, there's a larger community here, one of the largest ones in this part of the southern areas of Jamaica, the Black River community. It is part of the longest river that goes through Jamaica all the way into the upper elevations here. So that area has seen significant flooding from that. 1, 2, it had the storm surge, and 3, it also had the strongest winds. And this whole community is flat. It's a flat area with a lot of farmland. And then you go several miles inland and then you hit the upper elevation. So that community really took the brunt of this storm. I'm not sure how that community looks right now.
All right, friends, let me click off that. And that is absolutely astounding. What I want to share with you, it's so very troubling. You know, there was a project, something called Project Cirrus. And let me know if you saw my video all about that. Let me see if I can bring that up for you real quick here. It was a government project in 1947, and that was a hurricane modification project. And here it is. Let's see if we can find the actual information. It does come from let's see if this will bring it up here, because there's an actual document. Maybe this is going to be it. And I did do a video on it previously. I'm just doing this again. We're filming live, and I realized I should probably have this for you about Project Cirrus. But basically, well, let me just tell you what I recall from that. And in fact, let me do this. We'll just take a look at that for a moment. So Project Cirrus was a 1947 weather modification research project. And what they did, it was the first time that we were told that they attempted to seed a hurricane with dry ice, and they wanted to alter its path and intensity. So the point of Project Cirrus is that it was established that the federal government could steer a hurricane. Are you hearing me clearly? It is possible. It's possible not only with cloud seeding, it's possible with radar, it's possible with HARP, which also is well established, and that is with my understanding is with electromagnetic frequency. So we don't see it, but we can see the results of it. So this project actually was successful in terms of doing cloud seeding, Project Cirrus. And we were told that the whole project was abandoned because the public blamed one of the hurricanes. I think it was Hurricane Betsy, that was so powerful, and it made a U-turn and then made landfall. So we were told that this project was abandoned like around 1952, and whoever worked on it, because of the Korean War, something like that. The idea was that it was supposed to help, we were told, prevent the hurricanes from being so disastrous. So let me ask you, are we seeing fewer and fewer disastrous hurricanes? No, we're seeing more and more hurricanes that are intensified and strangely looking as though they are being steered into a certain place. So, oh my gosh, how long ago was that? Like 70 plus years or something. So let me ask you, friends, what websites or YouTube channels do you watch that actually track the weather? I think one is called Ryan Hall, no relation to Peggy Hall, Ryan Hall, y'all. He's in the South, and I think he tracks the hurricanes. I don't know where he stands on weather modification and weather manipulation and weather orchestration and all of that. So I only heard about this before I came on for the live stream. So I quickly did some research. And what I normally do when I'm curious about something is I will type in search words like World Economic Forum, because we know that the WEFers are part of the New World Disorder, and this New World Disorder wants to control and basically decimate our way of life and rebuild the kind of life that they want, which is all about digital tracking and their 15-minute smart cities and taking people out of where they normally live and putting them into the pack 'em and stack 'ems, creating the surveillance, biometric IDs, AI infrastructure, centralized grids, in other words, an open air prison, and not really open air. So I did find that he had written some articles this is the Prime Minister of Jamaica. What I thought was even more compelling, we're going to take a look at this video now. This was just about a month ago, and the Prime Minister of Jamaica is addressing the United Nations. I'm going to play a couple of minutes, and you can watch the entire video if you like. It is on YouTube. I'll have a link for you in my Substack, peggyhall.substack.com. The Substack comes out the day or two following the video. So if you're watching this live and you go to the Substack, you'll see my previous Substacks. Let's take a listen to his religion, I guess I could put it, of climate change and how he wants more money from Western nations to help Jamaica apparently prepare for the hurricanes. So it's a little interesting, isn't it, that just about a month later, Jamaica is decimated by the hurricane. Stay tuned, because then we're going to be taking a look at Vision 2030, and that comes directly from the United Nations. Here it is, the Sustainable Goals, and we'll learn about that as well. All right, here we go. Make sure I have it on normal speed, and we've got subtitles.
Climate change, Madam President, is not a distant threat or an academic consideration. It is a daily reality for small island developing states like Jamaica. Frequent hurricanes, droughts, and erratic rainfall destroy infrastructure, displace communities, and set back decades of hard-fought progress. Jamaica has demonstrated unwavering leadership in climate action despite our limited resources. We have committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050.
Did you catch that? Net zero? There is no such thing, by the way, because any type of energy is produced by other energy. And so this idea of net zero emissions is another one of their buzzwords to really imprison you and apparently imprison the Jamaicans.
implemented our national adaptation plan with specific measures to build resilience across key sectors, and we are on track.
That's another word: resilience and sustainability, net zero, community, unity. All of those words are being taken over by the WEFers, by the New World Disorder, to create these open air prisons.
To achieve our renewable energy targets
There's another one: renewable energy.
of 50% by 2030. However, our efforts and those of other states are severely constrained by the lack of predictable access to financing. The promise of $100 billion annually remains unfulfilled.
They want $100 billion. Jamaica, the country of Jamaica, wants $100 billion given to them annually so they can inflict the smart city, the fully digital IDs, the AI infrastructure, and you and I pay for it out of the money that the government steals out of our paycheck every month.
The Loss and Damage Fund, established at COP28, was historic, yet its initial capitalization of $800 million is grossly inadequate. Developed countries must honor their commitments and scale up climate finance, recognizing that adaptation is a necessity for the survival of small island developing states.
What do you think, friends? I would like to hear from you. In fact, I'm going to take a look at your comments. Then we're going to look at this Vision 2030. Let me just get up here. So, do you believe that the Western nations should foot the bill for countries like Jamaica, small developing islands, as he called it, to create these UN and to achieve these United Nations goals that we are going to be taking a look at in just a moment? I'm very curious about that. I would like to know what you think. Let's see. Bugs Bunny says Billy Goat must be proud of himself and the Musk in terms of the climate change, I believe, and the weather manipulation. Mike says, is the hurricane named after Melissa Gates? Oh my gosh. Is it? Let's see. They've manipulated the weather for decades. Insight says, listen to Dane Wigington. I've had Dane on my show a couple of times. He does have a lot of information that he publishes on his channel. I do know that there are some healthy Americans that are skeptical about his intentions and his funding and so forth. So just want to leave you with that caveat. We've had a couple of conversations, and there is a lot of information that you can gain from his website in terms of flyers and things like that that he makes available. Let's see. Jewel says, absolutely, they are steering this. Maybe they need to launder more money to the relief. Oh, that is such an important insight. Stay with me, friends. We're going to be looking at this Agenda 2030 in just a moment. There are a few people. Yes. Let's see. Joe says Ryan Hall is awesome. He has a weather channel on YouTube, Ryan Hall, y'all. And some are saying, but he doesn't even mention WM. I don't know what that is. Carol says, I believe that the hurricane was steered into North Carolina last year. That was very unusual for a hurricane to make landfall in that area. All right, let's keep going. Max Velocity has a huge following and will not discuss weather modification. Oh, that's it, WM, weather modification. I think that is true, that a lot of these channels that are tracking the hurricanes, they are talking about the intensity and so forth, but they're not bringing in this concept that the government or the powers that shouldn't be, the New World Disorder, that they are really inflicting or magnifying or augmenting or manufacturing or somehow orchestrating and having an impact on manipulating the weather. Let's see. Valerie says, and she's in Florida, I pay no attention unless the hurricane is 2 days out and projected to hit near me, and it's at least a category 3. I shared with you that meme a couple of days ago on my video, Where Are All the Hurricanes? And I had that funny meme. Let's see if I can share it with you about Floridians. They are only concerned if the weather goes below, here we are, they're only concerned if the weather goes below 60 degrees. If there's a Cat 5 hurricane, they say, bring it on. We're Floridians. We know how to deal with it. And in fact, having been here, not only through hurricanes, but also through tornadoes, Floridians are very well prepared. People have storm shutters. They put in their reserves. They're very well prepared in terms of power and food, and in communities, people look out for each other. I was on a kind of a group text when all of this was happening just about a year ago. And it is true that Floridians will complain when the weather gets a little cold. So that's just kind of a little humor there. But by and large, people who are used to these hurricanes, I can't speak for Jamaica. I don't know if they were prepared. And obviously, being an island, it's very expensive because they have to bring things in, and there's nowhere to escape. Unlike Florida, you can get in a car and drive somewhere, except if you have an electric vehicle. You're not going to be going too far if you're stuck in traffic, or if you can only go a couple hundred miles. And what are you going to do? Charge your car while you're in Jacksonville trying to head out of Florida? It doesn't really work that well. Kim says, I only have regular homeowners insurance here in the Gulf Coast of Florida. The wind insurance alone would be $3,000 per year. I pay $1,200 a year for regular homeowners. That seems pretty reasonable there. Learning the Truth said, these people are demons. Kathy also watches max velocity. Let's see. Local network meteorologists should say when a partly cloudy day is actually created, if not natural type of clouds. Otherwise, it would be a sunny blue sky, Carol says. You're absolutely correct. All right, let me see, get ahead a little bit, see what you're saying. Yes, Vision 2030. Ava is putting a couple of hashtags there. Thank you, Ava, for helping to promote this video. If anyone is on Twitter, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not active on Instagram, but you could link to this video, and that would be helpful to, help to educate people. John Carchia says, Jamaican me crazy. Yeah, man, I know. Did President Trump mention the UN agenda in his UN speech a few weeks ago? I did not see that speech. I'll have to look at that. Mike says, why can't the government let people fend for themselves instead of building new homes for them? It's so interesting how much the government has really gotten involved in our private lives, especially the federal government. So this is the video, friends. This prime minister is involved in the United Nations, in the World Economic Forum, and this is also another organization called CARICOM, the Caribbean Community. Look at this, a community for all. It is another type of regional government, and I am 100% opposed to that. Let's take a look now at Vision 2030 for Jamaica. What I want to do is jump a little bit ahead. We'll come back, but I wanted to show you this, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this, let me increase the size a little bit here. And the Sustainable Development Goals come directly from the United Nations. And there are 11, lucky 11 goals. And you see this kind of insignia or logo they have in the middle, the O, with all the different colors. Keep an eye out for variations on this kind of logo. Now, it is possible that you may even own a business and you went to somebody to create a logo, and they created a logo that sort of resembles that with the different colors. And you may say, Peggy, I don't have anything to do with the United Nations or Sustainable Development Goals. Well, that's very true. However, you have to admit that a lot of these governments, just take a look at your city governments, your county governments, your state governments, and you'll see a lot of similar logos because they all are following this blueprint. So number one, no poverty. Hey, I'm all in favor of no poverty, but when you dig deeper, there are never any explicit ways on how to actually achieve this or measure the progress. It's a huge idea, and there can be a lot of money and a lot of corruption when people are involved in this, and we never actually see any headway. So in a way, it's kind of good that I don't think these sustainable goals will ever really be accomplished in our lifetime. Zero hunger is number 2. Number 3, good health and well-being. Well, how do you define good health and how do you measure it? The same would go for all of these goals. Number 4 is quality education, meaning, of course, they don't want anyone to homeschool. Oh, going back to the good health and well-being means your county and state health departments should be in charge of your health instead of you. How about number 5, gender equality? Oh, yes, we know what that means. Number 6, clean water and sanitation. That sounds like a good one, but how do we achieve it and who pays for it? Number 7 is affordable and clean energy, meaning you don't get to drive your gas-powered vehicle. You don't get to have your gas-powered dryer or your gas cooker, your gas stove, and you don't get to have your bonfires, and you don't get to burn fire in your fireplace in your own house. That's what that means. Number 8, decent work and economic growth, meaning minimum wages and established compensation for CEOs of corporations. You may be in favor of that, but it should happen organically, not because of a worldwide wannabe government known as the United Nations. Number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. That's all going to be green as well. You won't be able to put in the number of windows that you want to put in. All of that will be regulated by AI probably, because the ultimate world government is not even going to have people running it. It's going to be computers. Number 10, reduced inequalities. It's not fair that you worked hard and you earned money. That money needs to go to other people that didn't work hard. Of course, that is the wealth redistribution. Number 11 is where I want to camp out a little bit, because that is what we are seeing right now. Sustainable cities and communities. I've done a deep dive on this, friends, when I did my coverage on Maui, when we looked at the devastation that was inflicted there and how the United Nations wants people to leave their rural or even single family homes and move into the Pack'em and Stack'ems. And it is happening everywhere, especially in rural communities. You're seeing these monstrosities going up that are paid for in part by your tax dollars. And then they sit empty because the developers, all they cared about was getting the money. If you would like to go back and watch my Maui playlist, I do a deep dive on a lot of these home builders and how they're getting money from your tax dollars to build these monstrosities in places where people don't really want them. All right, then we've got responsible consumption and production is number 12. Climate action is also implicated here, number 13. And can you see how we've got the all-seeing eye here under number 13? That's really tied in. 11 and 13 is what we are seeing here happening in Jamaica. Life below water is number 14. Life on land is 15. Number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Number 17, partnerships for the goals. Those are the 17 sustainable development goals. And here we've got Jamaica on board, Vision 2030. Let's take a look at their sector plans. So how about, we're just doing this live, friends. As I say, this news just hit and I wanted to do a little digging to see what I could find. Let's take a look at the housing sector. That seems like that may have something to do with this hurricane coming in. And we've got it. Vision 2030 housing. Let's see. This came in 2009. Let's see what they want to do here. We'll scroll through together. It's a 21-year plan designed to put Jamaica into a position to achieve developed country status by 2030. They want Jamaica to be the place of choice to raise families, live, work, and do business. Friends, here's your homework assignment. I'd like you to see if any of your towns or counties or your state is using that same catchphrase. That comes directly from the WEFers. And Okay. In the year 2030, every household should be living in a well-constructed dwelling unit. Okay. Probably that's not a problem unless they clear the land through hurricanes to put up the pack-em and stack-ems. So let's see what else we've got. Situational analysis. All right. As I say, I'm doing this live with you, friends. This is how I do my research. I will take a thread such as Vision 2030, and I will see what I can find in terms of connecting the clots, as I say. So let's see. Population sector plan. Relocating the population out of the more rural areas and into controlled areas where they can have their own digital prison. Let's see. What's their population plan? Oh, just happens to be on page 33. What a coinky dink. We'll take a look at that now, shall we? All right. Here's their population. I can leave all this for you, friends, in the Substack. I'm not sure if we're going to find anything of interest here, but let's just take a look at that page 33. Okay. So stabilization. Ha ha! Bingo! Zero population growth. Are you with me, friends? Did anybody catch that? By 2030, which is 5 years from now, actually a little less than 5 years if we're at the end of 2025, zero population growth by 2030. How do you like them apples? They want to have quality reproductive health and family planning, meaning abortion and birth control. And they want to have the replacement level fertility achieved by 2010. I don't know if they did that. That was 15 years ago, but it's right here. Right here. Depopulation, front and center. Yeah. Let's see what else we can find here. Transport sector, national resource, manufacturing, health sector, governance sector. Let's see what we find there, shall we? So there are a lot of things, I'm sure, that are buried in this plan, and they have to accelerate it because it's coming on 2026, and they have this on target for 2030. Let's take a look at page 26, and we'll see what they've got in mind. Oh, let's see. This is really crazy. All right. So they probably are not going to come right out and say digital IDs and digital surveillance, but yeah, it's basically all of the same things that they're calling for in the United Nations. So there you have it, friends. They're on track to clear the land from these horrible hurricanes, build back better. I'm sure we're going to be hearing coming up from the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. And as you know, he is all about the United Nations giving his country $100 billion a year so he can implement his Vision 2030 plan. What say you? Friends, as I say, this is breaking news. I just hopped on to bring you this info. I will be doing additional research to see if there is more here. Viva Cristo Rey says contraception is a big part of that and leads to abortion. Love Jesus says the Atlanta Guidestone, the Georgia Guidestones told us about their depopulation plan. Valerie says Jamaica will be the paradise playground for the rich. Swiss says the social credit score, your score is too low. You're not allowed to reproduce. Allison says, I was frustrated with another group over the 9-10 thing. Someone mentioned Peggy. When did I get unsubbed? I don't know. YouTube is unsubbing people. So yes, please resubscribe, everybody. Really appreciate you being on board. Thank you so much, friends. I want to thank all of you who are emailing me support@thehealthyamerican.org. Please know that I cannot reply to everybody personally. I have a whole list of people that I'm trying to respond to, but please know that we receive your emails, we get your links, we take a look at them when possible. And so many of you have sent me great ideas for future videos. I value you as a part of our Healthy American community. That's why I want to protect this YouTube channel. And we are almost at 190,000 subscribers as of this broadcast. Somehow YouTube flipped the switch and took off the shadow banning, and I have been able to actually see my subscriber count increase. Some of you said, Peggy, just add a 0 to that number because you probably have many more subscribers than they are showing you. And I don't care about the numbers. What I care about is the reach. I do want the information to get out to others so they can learn how to read between the lies, so they can see how I'm doing my research and connecting the clots and putting together these threads. Even if we hadn't seen that Vision 2030, I'm sure that many of us could conclude that this storm was augmented, enhanced, steered, use whatever words you would like. And the utter devastation is absolutely heartbreaking. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Literally, I am brokenhearted when I see the level of destruction that is inflicted upon innocent people and animals, losing the infrastructure, losing their homes, losing their families. I don't know yet about the loss of life, but I do know that there is going to be rebuilding, and they are going to rebuild from scratch, just like in Pacific Palisades, just like in Lahaina, and sadly here in Jamaica. Thank you so much, everybody. Signing off for now. I do have a video for you tomorrow about pushing back against the real ID. I had that planned for today, but with this breaking news, I wanted to push that until tomorrow. And if there's more that I can bring you on coverage about this hurricane, please email me your insights, your links, what you find, and that is support@thehealthyamerican.org. Big shout out, Valerie, holding down the fort today on her own. Oh, I just love you, Val. Thank you for all you do as a healthy American. Thank you, everybody, for leaving a comment, for resubscribing, for sharing, liking. It only takes a moment, and it really helps with the reach. Get on the free Substack, peggyhall.substack.com, and I'll see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and always over at thehealthyamerican.org.